Hello and welcome back to building our Netrunner card viewer. What I'm doing is I'm building this in Fuse again, and we'll show you where we left off last week. We have a bit of a viewer. Let's just get that running. Go Fuse Preview. Go is just a prefix I use because I have a lot of different versions of our software running, and this just hopefully gets me the version that will actually work. And I'll just start this up. My goal is to create a little viewer using the Netrunner DB database. It's a great place to use. Look up Netrunner cards. And last week we just created a simple listing which just shows the cards and doesn't do much else. And this week I want to do a few things. The first thing I want to do is change it to a new model. I'm running on a bit of a beta version here that I can try out a new model system. And this is Mac again, putting stuff in random locations. Just got to figure out where Mac put this window. There it goes. With the streaming, as I mentioned, it is a bit slow to start up sometimes. Let's throw this in compact mode. And the first time building it takes a little bit longer than normal, but I'm starting with the command line, probably with nothing cached, probably with this edA-qa not used recently. So let's see where we are from last time. Okay, it's doing something at least. And you can see the one with code over here. This was the card listing. And my Mac's getting all excited on me. It's going nice and slow. I think I have, no, don't want to quit that. Don't know why it's going so slow today. I don't know where my viewer is. Oh, it's always lots of fun. I had actually just tested this before. Okay, it's just going slow, that's all it is. I really have no idea why it's going so slow today. I can even hear my thing getting all excited about it too. It's maybe Blizzard's in the background, it's not liking it. Okay, so from last time I have a little card listing. This scrolls. This is using dynamic paging. And that means it doesn't actually have all these items in the list. There's like 1,200 cards. It only has a few of them in there at a time. And if you click on one, it goes and shows the card. And which others can use the back. This is actually a hardware back button. I'm using it on the keyboard, Control B. If you run a mobile device, you'd have a back button. You saw quickly there's a little ugly loading icon. We can fix those things. But it's not what I want to fix first of all. What I want to fix first of all is, okay, just a second, I gotta check something. Sorry about that, there's just somebody at my door. Now we can continue. So what I want to change first of all is I'm using the old technique right here. If you look at CardView.js or main.js, I am using our old observable systems, and this actual card view part isn't going to change much, the actual Netrunner bits. But our main here I want to change to what's our new model system. Our model system makes it a little bit easier to deal with JS or our observables. But since I do have something working, I'm going to branch this off first, just to make sure I don't break something that's working. Okay. Now the way model works is, let's just get it set up first. We say model equals, and we just have to give it a name. And so let's say, just call it main state. It works like a function. We could pass an argument, but I don't want to. I believe it works without as well, just for convenience. And this is the syntax I never remember on the next part. We need to create a new file, and I think this is so export class default. What did they just call it? Wonderful memory. Main state. Let's save this as a JavaScript file here, and I'll put it in where do I want to put these state files? Let's create another folder. Just call it state. Why not? Main state.js. Structure. And you just want to get this testing that's working for this.test equals. Yep. Just want to see this is working. Main view, test, yep. And we can put it here. Test is there as well. And if this works, then we'll actually see this is working. I think I actually have to change the project file because these are different files. Yeah. That wasn't the one I'm looking for. Let's rebuild this first of all. Because I changed some JS files, it's not going to do the automatic update for me. I really have to look into why it's not showing me that it's actually reloading now. Or it is actually done. And it's just showing it hasn't resolved that. That's a bit of an issue. Let's just make sure it's actually showing that. And it did actually reload. And it couldn't resolve the string now, which is what I wanted. Now I just have to figure out why, and I think it has to do with these things. We'll go to state, start.js, and these are now JS files, I think is the new syntax. We have to get this to reload again then. Alright. Oh yeah, Vue.js. Thanks for the comment. It's easier when I'm working from existing code, but I don't have it here. I'm trying to avoid doing that. Did it change? No, I don't think it changed in the last few days, but still have problems. Test not located in data context. Fine, good enough. Why not? This.test, test, included test. Now I have to figure out why it's not there. I'm going to look at one of my examples to figure out where it went to. I have a whole bunch of these things scattered all over here. That's good to know that they should also reload. So now it's a mystery of why it's not reloading, or it's just an error. And so I have this one. This is one of my tests I was working on because I was actually working on this fairly recently. And Vue.js looks to be correct. And what does my main view look like? Just model looks fine. And I think it's a JS file is perhaps what's wrong. Export class. Maybe the default is that used to be there. Maybe that's not required anymore. Maybe that actually makes it angry. Model script. Not found. I bet I have to do this. It's not going to be relative automatically. Okay, now I have an unexpected token because I probably screwed up something in my script. Let's check what I had in the other one. Export class, model. Now I just have to figure out what the syntax error actually is. Unexpected token. Alright, so let's see what's happening here. I was hoping this would go a bit faster, but okay. Model script 3.18. Every line 3, column 18. Be surprised if a string's not supported, but it might not be. That'd be weird. Constructor. Well, I'm going to rebuild just to be certain. I've been told it's not required, but let's see if it actually makes a difference. These ones are okay. Okay, so if in the comments, yeah, because we're actually writing ES6, and this is actually going to convert what happens into JS5, the error might be showing it for the not the actual source line, and we're going to actually have to fix that then if that's the case, because I guess we'd really like to get errors on the true source line, but I thought that was working before. It was sure okay. We'll build, so let's see if it runs this time. And okay, now doing a rebuild forced it to work, so I think we might be wrong. There must be some condition, and it's probably an error condition that prevented it from reloading. I think we have that problem in a few places, that if you make some sort of error, the reload, it might just cache an error. Okay, so we have it working now. Let me explain how that works right now. We have a main view, we have a model. This model it's a JavaScript model, and the state/main state is coming from the file name and the class name. It's a convenience mechanism to hook them up. And any variables you define on this class, like this.test, will be available in the context. That's why I put this.test here. And let's just make it a little bit more interesting. Let's just say title is time Netrunner browser. So now we can actually start working on the interesting bits and not just debugging. Netrunner browser, and now we can put the title here. Okay, and now it reloads, and you can see it right there. We have the title, Netrunner browser, and this is coming from the from the model now. Okay, and now what we want to do is, the first thing we want to do is change this navigation system to use the model. And the way we did that before, we got to the default path cards before because it just happened to be the first card path. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create a model for this card listing. Actually, I'm going to create it. Yeah, okay, we'll create one for the card listing. This is what the listing looks like. It has its own JavaScript file right now, and it loads its own data. But we can start putting this into a separate state model. We'll open this up and we'll create a second state. And we'll save this as card listing. What we'll do is we'll create a state for each page, and then it's easier to combine the state to it. Card listing. So export class card listing. Constructor. I don't know what I want in it yet, so I'm just going to say, let's just give it a page title. Card listing, so we can do something with it. What we want. Now in the main state, we're going to use this as a page. I believe I'm going to need to include this. Oops. Our card listing equals require card listing. That might need to be state. I'm going to find out right away. That is, it might need to be state/card listing. Probably, because require isn't really file names. It's not relative. And this dot pages, we'll just set the first page. Page is the page history, and I'm actually going to, I'll call it that way. New card listing. Okay, already got errors. Fun, fun, fun. Okay, I got one of these hard errors, and this is probably because I'm creating new classes here. I'm going to see what the difference is right away. Alright, let me just finish this off first in case it has to do something with that. Card listing UX. And the card listing JS has a page title, so somewhere on here we should be able to put a page title. And in the main view, our navigator now has pages equals pages. This says the pages it has available will come from the template, and that's what we have in the main state, pages. And the card listing is one of those pages. And the templates, it'll need a template, so The way we tell it which template to use is with the $path parameter. This also establishes its path, that's why it's called that, and we'll call it cards. Oops, that's over here. Okay, now I have to figure out what went wrong. Oh, let's just rebuild that first of all. Card listing is not a constructor. Okay, that would be... That's probably where I had default before. I'm going to see if that works. Well, the airport report was reasonable. Now I'm trying to see. Let's rebuild this now. Configuring and reloading. Compiling. Yeah, so I think default, I'm not really used to the JavaScript syntax. I think that's the equivalent of saying module.exports equals card listing, or module.exports.card listing equals card listing, or something like that. I can't remember which one default actually lines up as. We'll have to try one of those if this doesn't work, but I'm pretty sure that was the way it was supposed to work. Okay, now what problem I have? Card listing is not a constructor. So one of these, and I don't remember what's the correct way to do it. So let's find out. I have a... Oh, let's rebuild. I think I have another one, another example. I have things organized by date. If it's a bit hard to see, I don't know how to increase the font size in the shell. There must be a quick way to increase font size. Make text bigger. Let's make it bigger. Maybe you can see a little bit more of what I'm doing here without straining so hard. Okay, and this navigation is also an example using the model. I think I updated it. Export default class is all I did. Okay. Export default class bookings, fine. So it's just export default class. I shouldn't need any more than that. So let's go back to my text. Export default class card listing. And the main view, main state, require card listing, new card listing. Is that what I did here? Aha, that's it. Use the new module syntax as well. Import card listing from. Let's see if that helps it out a bit. Okay, it's bringing card listing was next. Hit rebuild. Just take a sip of water. Did I make a spelling error somewhere? Card, oh yeah, great. I did, so it's going to cause the same error. Thank you, real-time chat compiler. And I'm going to have to wait for that to rebuild again, aren't I? While waiting for rebuild, let's try to see what's taking so long on... What's taking up all the CPU time? Nothing in particular. I have no idea how to sort by CPU time on Mac Top. Is there a way to do this? No. Let's see. See? Yeah, I can't figure out what's taking all the time. It's really weird. I can't remember how. I don't remember what the keystroke is to get it. All right, so it ran. Didn't find the file, of course. So now let's rebuild. So we have that error. And I'm working with a lot of beta stuff here, so don't be surprised if I get some weird errors like this where it doesn't rebuild correctly. I have a bunch of different branches checked out from our repositories, and I was just working on it up until a few minutes before release, so hopefully it works. Compile this time, and just waiting for it to... yeah, I'm doing this weird setup because I really wanted to see if I can convert this to model right away. Before I get too far in this Netrunner project, it'll be more work to convert later to the model than it will right now, so I thought I'd just take the work up front in a little bit of things. But we have a card listing here actually shown now. So that actually shows we have it connected. And this is from card listing with a page title card listing. So now that it actually works, let me explain again how this all fits together. In the main state, I'm declaring a title. We saw that works. This is just a normal context. And pages, I'm using this for the current set of pages for the navigator. This is like the navigator's little local history. And these are actual objects in here, new card listing. And what happens is card listing is that you have path in it. And path is attached to cards, and this is how it hooks up to the main views. This is actually the template name. The template and the path, they end up being the same thing. I'm actually going to have to put a way to make, say, a separate path and template, but for most users, like 99.9% of use cases, there's no reason to separate the path and templates, so we'll see if I actually get it done or not. But you can see how this works now, that this automatically, a navigator, because it has the pages, because I actually create an actual card object here, an instance of this card listing, I actually have direct access to the state defined in there. And this is how our new state model hooks things together. It's much more state driven, and I don't have to deal with observables directly. But this listing itself is still not coming from my model. This is coming from the old way. We have something called main.js. So let's look what main.js did. It included these files, and we can copy this over to card listing, so we can do this over here now. But these aren't exports anymore. We're going to say this.version equals mdb.version. This should probably be done in main, actually. Let's just leave it here for now. And this.cards equals mdb.cards. This is just from our file Netrunner, which defines these things. And we can move that out. And in card listing, we can actually remove this file now because we're not going to be using that anymore. And this has the same values for it now. Cards should still be cards. And it still is cards. You'll see the weird page transition on the reload. That's actually a defect on my list, that when you reload and you have an existing page, it shouldn't actually animate. It should just be there. We still have problems in here, and this is something we're uncertain. I had to figure out is that this is this flavor here. It could be empty, and this is something I think I'm going to have to figure out. I probably want an operator here, something like this, if there's nothing there. This would be the null coalesce operator, that'd be good, but I had to figure that one out. Okay, but we have the cards, we have the model system now. And we don't need main.js anymore. I wonder if I can just delete that from here. And there we go. We'll just get rid of that. And now we're totally using just the model system. And we can add a second card listing now, though. You can still go to the cards now, I think. Okay, didn't like that at all. I might not be able to mix the two systems, which would make sense. Okay, so we need to create one for card view as well. And so we'll create one for card view. Let's get another one. Export default class card view. This will be card view.js. And we're going to say which card it is now. This takes a bit more, so the actual card is going to be part of the constructor. And let's show how this hooks up first from the high level card listing. Previously I pushed a card, and we can't do this correctly. We can't do this directly now, not correctly. We can't push the path directly because we're going to need to create an object. And so let's now instead say select card, and the cards have a code. Card view, card listing, and what did I call it? Short-term memory problems. Select card. Now we have a data structure in here somewhere. Cards. One of these will be associated with our card, which was the same as it used to work in the old system, and I always forget the names. So I wonder if a refresh would have been enough. This is anytime you have an each. When you have an each and you call a function on this, you'll end up with the context. You get the context of this each passed to the callback function. And from there we can figure out which card was actually clicked. We're still working on passing arguments in directly. I don't think anybody did that yet. It'll have to come, but we'll get there. Okay, this is taking really long to load. I don't know why. Usually isn't this long. There's something running on my machine that doesn't like. So if I click on something now, alright, so you click on it, you can see what I wrote out. The click says all the stuff that was passed to it. This is the full click thing, and it's the data one, and data is fairly standard. So var data equals vars.data, and this is the card we actually clicked on, and we know the card has a code. Console observer. We can see the whole data at this point as well. And alright, so that should be enough to see that. The next part's a little bit trickier, but let's see if this works. There. So I printed it out. You can see the card, all the in this very small area here. You can see what's in its shaper card, its illustrator, the keywords, and so this is clear. We have a card here at this point. Now we have to actually navigate to this card, but we don't have the navigation here, and this is some things we're still discussing. What's the best way to actually do this navigation? If it's state-driven, and what I'm trying to do here is 100% state-driven, what we need access to is the main state, because we want to push a page. So when we create the card listing, we're going to give the main state off to the card listing. And it's going to take the main state. And now we're going to do, okay, then we have to import card view from /card view. And let's just pretend we have a function that navigates first. Push new card view, and we want to give it the code, I think is what we wanted for this. The code is what it was. This will create the code, and the card view then has to take the card code. Actually, this was kind of silly. Code is what we did before. We can actually just give it the whole card now. So it has everything it wants in it. And we can get rid of here. And card view takes the card, just just to make sure we're in the right place, we're going to write out the card again. And in the main view, card view is the template, and so we have to associate that with here. There is a way, if you really want, that you can, if you have the templates the same name as the class name, it will auto bind together. I'm just not going to do that now because I know I'm going to have other classes where that won't work. So now I have this card view, and I'll show the card when I navigate there. Navigate there. Let's see if that works. Okay. This does push is not a function. Yeah, we forgot to add the. We didn't. I forgot to add the push function. And did I just call it push? Push is probably not the best name for this push page. Push page. It's dot pages dot push, is it in JavaScript? Push page. Probably reloaded. I probably saved so many files I got confused at this point again. It's successfully. Let's see if it works. Oh, it actually did. So it did actually reload, and it printed it out. And so now we're on a page, and this page didn't work now because we haven't connected it together. Remember, the card view is expecting all this card data stuff, and it's using an old file called card view. So let's look at what card view actually exported. All the exports from card view we have to replace with something else, and we have to do this dynamic loading now. I'm going to start with the obvious place of just copying this over, and this changes a lot. Maybe watching this copying is you can see how this new state system simplifies some of this. Before we actually had to load the card data, which we probably don't anymore because we actually have the card data. We have the basic card data. We don't actually have to reload it, but we have to reload other things. Is loading we're going to start with true. Card image, we're going to start with nothing. And code. Does something need the code? If something needs the code, well, we'll just assume it does. We'll just say card.code. And now we can start off with loading the data. Maybe we'll just run the whole thing to simplify it. Load data. I think we might have a convention of underscores. I'll explain this in a second what that might mean. Now let's take this bit here. Actually, for correctness, I should say is loading false here because it's not actually loading yet. It's loading down here, and it's catching this dot code. So card data is that card data code. Response exports dot is loading. And now we don't have these dot values here. This is one of the things, the states is just implicit. We don't have to deal with the observable values. It's just this is loading. And this is loading equals false. Card data, and then we have this dot card data dot. We'll just reset the whole thing again just for what we did before, but we know from now that we already have the card data, but let's load it again. And we also have a card image now. Card image. Load that, and in either case this dot is loading as false. Same with up here. Okay, we don't have this bit. Now let's see if this actually, if we go to the page. Load data is not defined. Fine. This dot load data. We're back to here. And we got to the page, but we must have an error here somewhere. I suspect it's not just taking a really long time to load, because it used to go really, really fast. There's something in here. Ooh, it doesn't like. And this return should be fine. That loading. I have a feeling it's all these this functions, because this is now bound to something else, and it's one of the nuances in JavaScript. This should probably be a double double arrow function. For consistency, this should as well, and this one as well. Before I explain why that works, let's see that it actually does work. And it still doesn't. We can show that we're actually in here though. Console.log cut response. Error.message. No, I don't think it's actually I don't think we're getting to the error. I don't think an error actually happened. So you don't see any log output. I think it's actually getting to this point. And the problem is that this isn't actually pointing somewhere useful. This is pointing to this function here rather than to my actual data class. And or not. I don't know where it's pointing. Let's go do some more debugging here. Console.log loading data. Console.log response. Let's just do this with console.log error. Has to have gotten to one of these. Great, I got 2 real-time compilers. That's great. Okay. Loading data. You don't think I can just wrote error? I've always just done log error. It's always worked before, but I've never got errors. And as you can see, this isn't actually my problem now. I actually have... It's getting to loading data and no further. This is really bothersome. Why is fetch not going to any of my handlers? I either have to have a response or an error, and I have nothing now. So let's figure out where I'm going first for our URL. Let's do it the long debugging way. Fetch URL, but let's show what URL I'm going to. I'm going to that URL. We need to change the colors there. Let's go off to a browser and see where that window goes. Oh, it's nice and wide, full screen. It gives me a proper file, so that shouldn't be a problem. Now, why does this fetch not do anything? Now we have a mystery as to why fetch is not actually doing anything. One of these. Let's go back to this thing and see if it's somehow I have the syntax wrong for JavaScript 6 that doesn't like me. This obviously breaks something, but well, I'll just do that first of all. It's not loading. Why is it not loading? Is there an error on the fetch? Let's make sure after fetch. No. So fetch is actually being called. And Now I'm stuck somewhere. Now I'm trying to figure out why this isn't working, because we have a URL and I have a function. So this somehow is not being called. And there's no error. If anybody has ideas on this, let's go back to the old technique as well. If the comment is correct about error, I'd be very happy to see it fail on that line, but it's not failing there. It just doesn't load. Well, that's not very good at all. That's not much fun. I don't think this is an HTTPS bug, because this code hasn't actually changed from the old viewer. We're going to verify that. I'm actually going to close this down now, and we can actually go back to the old viewer just to make sure that stuff is working. I want to be fighting with some random error. Wrong place. You can't view anything again, so let's make this bigger. I wish terminal wouldn't do that. Just because I increased the font size doesn't mean I want my terminal increased. Git status. Let's add states. These are the files I've changed. Git status. Attempting to migrate to model. This is like my signature. If I spell my commit messages correctly, you know it's an imposter. Let's go back to master. We knew this worked before, and go fuse preview on this one. Let's see if this one's now running. Just to convince ourselves that the fetch was actually working, at the beginning of the show I actually showed that this code was still working. Uninitialized. Yeah, I spell uninitialized a lot too, so I don't know, type fingers don't want to type those sequence of ends. Alright, so let's wait for this old one to load, but then we might have a bit of a mystery why that fetch isn't working, which is kind of part of the reason why I'm actually trying to use some of this beta stuff in these shows, is it gives us a good understanding of how these tools are used and what type of defects we're going to hit right away. I mean, if you were looking for me to build an actual Netrunner browser at the moment, it's not as interesting because it's not working on those bits in particular, but we'll get back to that in future shows. Alright, it's building, waiting. Waiting. Okay. Alright, so fetch is working totally fine. How would this possibly not be working in the new code? So this is the old code, it was working fine. And just in the new code not working. Great, even reloaded. So let's quit this again. You know, I probably don't actually need to quit. I can just close the project. I quit things lots. I don't know, but that closed. Since it's the only project, it closed anyway, so no problem there. We'll give this another try. Let's see why the model's not working. Give it one more chance to actually load the model. Alright. Does anybody know the sequence for top, how to organize by CPU? Because there's something using up all my CPU time, and I have no idea what. Order, primary key. Must be a key here. Can I do help? Primary sort key to CPU. That would have been obvious. The streaming's taking all of it. Plug-in container. That doesn't look right. Okay, so I have a plugin container somewhere, and since I'm not actually viewing anything in a plugin on the browser, or and Fuse Studio's not taking up any of the time, so there's something with Firefox causing me grief, but if I quit it and I lose my chat, maybe there's multiple windows here? Aha! Okay, this is this OS X problem again. I really don't like OS X for this. That when I have a second monitor, these windows disappear. Okay, and this was the link of the card, if somebody's asking. So that's why it was going slower, so now it should give me a little bit more time, or a little bit less headache here. Quit. Connection refused. Well, I don't know what's connection refused to. Probably a timeout. Okay. Alright, and so going back to the model, let's see. I'll try to debug this shortly. If there's anything I can do from the user side, I don't know if there is something I could do from the user side. Maybe we'll try fetching a different URL. I wonder if it has to do something because we're in a state callback. Look, now I got a response, got object, and got an error, and it's over in that console. Well, at least now I'm getting something. But I got everything now. Response, object, and error. Okay, let's go back to Sublime then, and figure out why. Sublime. I don't know what it's doing. Why is Sublime? Oh, that's the old one, that's why. In the state card view. Okay. Now it's getting an error obviously because this function's wrong. Got object, got error. Somewhere in here is an error now. I don't know why it wasn't getting here before, so this is a bit of a problem. That why was it not loading before? But now it is loading, so let's go on, let's figure out why. Console.log. We got object, you got an error. So one of these is failing. Which one is failing? Console.log. Next. See how many times it writes out next. Huh. Just nothing. It worked once. And not again. What if I load a different one? Is it possibly because I have the same card? Now this is a bit perplexing. I don't know why. Okay, let's put this, let's just avoid writing anything there. So if there's an error. Sorry, this has become almost like live debugging now. Let's rebuild the whole thing. Why would that fail? What's happening here that this is failing a second time? I just want to convince myself that it's not my user code that's causing the problem. Once I've convinced myself that it's something in the model branches that we're doing there, then that's okay. Next. I got 4 nexts. So this image URL I didn't like, because there's no P. Got an error. Come on, go back. Let's see if it works a second time now. Okay, now it worked a second time. So this is very curious. I don't know how we're going to address this. If I do an error inside the error function like this, simple mistake, it appears to break significantly. It breaks fetch somehow. We have to look into that. Break future fetch calls. And I just say P all the way or something. This should have worked. That should work. And this should be this .code. Let's see if we get further. For real. Well, I was getting an error message. I'm getting the great error fuse scripting object. Yeah, so that'll give us the error message now. But I think I fixed the error. Almost fixed the error. Now I got nothing. Printed out 5 nexts, and then we're nowhere again. So it actually got here. Next end. I think it's there. I put console log error message. Put it right here. So now we're getting to the end of here. See, now we're at the end of this response. And it's not getting to the catch. It's not getting to the error. We don't get got error, so even if I wrote my error message wrong, we're just not getting there. Where's it going? It's just unloading, but it's not exporting the stuff. So, you know what? I remember what this is. And this is something about the model that we have to worry about. It's actually working now, our code at least. But the model doesn't know to update anything. So we've set this, but we've not updated anything. So we need to tell it to actually update the stuff. So all those updates have to actually be done in a function. And so let's do it this way. Let's make a function called update card. Card data, card image. This dot card data equals card data. This dot card image equals card image. This dot update card. We want card data, card image. I actually don't know where this printout's coming from now. Got response. We don't need got response now. We've got that. We know where we are now. console.log.data. That should put the image here. That should be enough to show we have the image. So we got the image. Now, why did this not actually update my model? Or the is loading. So have I done anything wrong? What I'm guessing is it's because the differ hasn't been called. Because we're inside a timeout, a callback here, we're not normally associated. The differ means our state updater, it checks for state changes. It instruments the functions we've created. It's like the constructor, update card, load data, and it won't instrument these anonymous functions. However, by calling this .update card, this is no longer an anonymous function. This should actually update the differ. So I had to figure out why that doesn't call. We got to console card. Is there something I'm missing here? We can do something a little bit weird. I'm going to sort of fake it a bit. Restate. Let's just call that click equals restate. Oops. Button text. You can see the image there in the background. And there's a reason for that. I'll get back to it later. But restate, I'm going to do absolutely nothing. And see if it works. It's just testing a theory. Now if I click restate, still nothing. Okay, so we have a problem. But what was curious, when I reloaded this now, or I refreshed it, we actually have the data here. And this is actually state migration that's working. So we have the image, and it wasn't working before those. So now we have to figure out why. But I'm not so sure this is a problem with my code anymore as it is with a problem with our model that I'll have to look at. This update card, I'm going to have to get back to this one because that should have worked. That restate didn't work. That was just hopefully a trick to tell it to change things. Right, because here if we put this dot is loading as false, at least we'd lose that. So it's done loading. Now I think I've got it into a broken state. That's unfortunate. Okay, in any case, let's I think before I continue, I think I actually want to figure out what this defect is. I was hoping that we would actually improve the listing here. Is there anything we could do without dynamic loading? So I'm just going to forget about this error for now. And I don't think it's my high-level problem at this point. I think it's actually something in the model kind of broke there. So now I want to see if there's something we can do with this data here. What else do we have information about a card? I think we have a faction on there. Let's at least very little, I want to try and get a faction picture onto that. So where we have card listing again. So we want an image. Okay, but card listing JS, we have, where are actually my cards? Cards. Oh yay, faction code. They have a faction code. I wonder if the faction code will be enough to actually get the image. Let's go off to Netrunner DB and see what we can find. I should probably had a window. I have to stop this. Netrunner DB, it has this faction code. Just to convince ourselves we actually have that code, first of all, let's go put it in Sublime. This will be on the card listing. Card listing. Text doc equals left, because this is where we'll actually want to put the image. Value equals faction code. Oh, what did I do wrong here? Okay, that's interesting. That was unexpected. Let's try reloading. If it was just a one-time thing. Didn't appear to do anything now. Alright, loading. It's faster though now, 13 seconds the build as opposed to 30 it was before with whatever I was running on Firefox. That was the viewer. Okay, I don't know what error I had. Something was a momentary error. Foolish me, did I capture it in the command console? No, I've completely lost the stack trace. That's terrible of me. I should have copied it while I had the chance. So now we have the name there. We just have to figure out how Netrunner DB converts a faction to an image. If they do at all, I assume they do. So let's go to the API. Maybe they don't have it. They might not have images for the factions, but I assume they do. API, packs encoding, card cycle, faction. So this would be the API we get the data for a faction, and this would be playing with. Well, let's just copy this off for now. And faction code. I often press the wrong key to copy. This again because I don't usually use OS X, and so the keys are reversed between my control and the command key. And it said faction code, and the faction codes happen to be high-level strings. Okay, and there's no image there though. So where do we get the image from? Factions. Get all the factions. Let's try it. I have a feeling that we can't. There is no actual image to it. We'll have to add something else. What to add our own images, but there's images up here. So there must be a way. Well, let's just see what this image points to. Maybe we get lucky and it's just based on the faction code. Oh no. There's an icon font in here which has the faction in it. Well, this will be fun. Font Netrunner, excellent. And it's using the faction code, so that's how it's getting it. Where is that font? Font Netrunner. It must be one here somewhere. We can borrow the font for now, I'm going to assume. It's public here, but we just have to find it. Look at all these files. Font. Okay, I find these browsers really slow. Yeah, nobody wants the fraction. I thought getting faction image would be really fast, but Netrunner font, there we go. Copy. And this is a why is it a CSS file? That's not what I want. Okay, yeah, it is, because I want the font. Is this relative to here? Fonts, Netrunner app. Go away, stupid pop-up. Netrunner.ttf. Netrunner. Let's save this file. I have no, oh, where did it save it again? Okay. Put this back in the background. Where am I? Make sure to replace. Yeah. We've descended from a high-level design into weirdness. Oh, great. The wrong key. This is actually a defect on OS X. When you use an external keyboard, it ignores your key mapping. So I have to remember myself where some of these keys are. And downloads, Netrunner, put that into assets. So now we have a Netrunner file asset. Let's actually see what that looks like in that file first. Not that. I was trying to install Twitch before. Where do I want to open this file? Go home. Where am I? Mort-ora-y. There's Netrunner in here somewhere. Assets. Is there a default? Oh, great. There's a default file viewer. That's wonderful. Not a very useful. Okay, this is not a very useful font viewer, but it has some symbols. So let's copy one, and we don't need page title anymore. That was just a test. Question mark. Good question mark. I hope this maintained the correct question mark. That this is the correct Unicode value. And let's stick a font in here somewhere. Let's do this off in main though. Font UX global equals Netrunner font. I think it's file asset slash netrunner.ttf. Okay, then over here we should say font equals Netrunner font. And something went wrong, but okay. I want to keep this reference, but I don't know where it's coming from. Copy. There must be an error in there. I'm gonna hope I can check it later. Netrunner viewer. This is called errors.txt. I just want to check this one later because it's in some code. At least have the stack. It's not a full stack trace, so it's gonna be hard to figure out which one it is. But I'll just go through everything in that file, and let's rebuild this again. I don't know why I get stuck. Okay, I can understand why I get stuck. If I look at the error and I see where the exception is happening, it's in this function called process onces, which I'm sure is of interest to nobody at this point, but let's just say this is at a critical point in the code and it's not expecting this error, except this is supposed to be handling errors because obviously it's a critical point. Obviously it's not though. What do we have now? It's a building. And yes, we have it. We have the little font up there, so at least that part works. Now, does anybody remember what the name of the icons was? Faction code. This is the CSS. Oh, we're going to need this. This is going to be hard to do, isn't it? Because we would need the same thing. How can I actually do that? That's a good question. How can I actually map the name to the icon code in the worst possible way? Let's do it in card listing. We need to do a mapping. I'm not sure how to do this. I have a mapping of name to number, but it's in the state. Well, let's just do mapping for now. Instead of saying cards, let's just map them. We'll put an underscore in this one again, so we know it's not a state function. Now, I guess the correct thing to do here would be just to copy this and modify the copy, but we just don't have to bother. We'll just modify these things directly. What was the array syntax again? I'm really good at this stuff, JavaScript, as you can tell. JavaScript array for each. It's for each, isn't it? For each. Okay. For each card. What I want to do is I want to map the... Let's create this first. I'll just stick it here. We have faction font map equals, and let's just use his here. Which ones are the factions? This is where my Netrunner knowledge will fail me. Are those all the factions? Anarch, criminal, shaper, those aren't them. Oh, the factions are spread throughout here. The last three are factions, but Anarch and Criminal, yeah, this should be faction 2. Okay, good. Then we'll... Alright, let's... Where am I? Anarch is... And the JavaScript escape sequence for Unicode is... Okay, mini factions. Yeah, that's it, because I don't have that extension. I'll just pretend that's why I didn't know about them. JavaScript Unicode escape. There's a lot of little bits here that have to work for me to see this, if it works. But we know the font works at least. And slash whatever, what's no escape sequence? Unicode point escape. So there's /u. We're not in the extended plane, so I think this will work /u. Okay. Now I just have to get all these in here. Wait. His /e though. It's a question about CSS. What is the slash in the CSS? I don't actually know what that is. I have a feeling that /e means something. That's what I would thought, but apparently it's not. It looks, according to this, leading a slash is actually Unicode escape sequence directly. Yeah. Okay. Okay, whatever. Great everyday guy. Okay, but all I really need to know is that is this escape code correct? UE918. I think it is. Assuming that we've somehow interpreted the CSS correctly. I'm just going to keep running with the idea that this one is correct. And just go through all of these. I'm actually not so certain doing this mapping at the actual JS level, if it's the ideal way we want to do this, or at least not mapping in the actual objects. Oops. Yeah. Apex. Because it doesn't feel like it has anything to do with business logic. This feels like this is 100% presentation. And so therefore it feels like something I should be doing at the high level and not in the JS file. Okay, so now we have a font map, and so cards for each card dot faction code. What do we want to call this? Faction. Can't call it faction code. Faction character equals faction font map card dot faction code. Right, like all I really want. Okay, slash missing. Thank you. All I really want is I want a way to map the individual codes. I don't want to map the entire cards. But this should work. So now we have something called faction character. Text doc equals left value equals faction character. vector font equals Netrunner font. Let's see if I'm still running this somewhere. Of course, I got something wrong. Map cards is not defined. This dot map cards. Let's rebuild. It seems to be getting stuck when I make an error in the JavaScript. It doesn't rebuild correctly. I left the text in for the code just so we make sure that I didn't break that. I'm hoping to get text here now. Still have our test working at the top. We can get rid of that right away. Now, where are my cards? What did I do wrong? Main state, card listing. Yeah, I did that. Yeah, let's just return cards. Let's pretend this creates a copy. I mean, there's a slice function that could do it. Ah, look, we have icons over there. Excellent. So let's clean that up a little bit. Say font size equals title's 20, so let's make it twice as high as that. So 35. Alignment equals center. This alignment center, this is already when it's docked left, center in whatever area gives it on the left side. Wow, this is not liking this. Okay. I'll have to go find that error. Something in my for each is broken somewhere. Where is this going to be? I think if I can just get these icons here, I'll be happy. Though I'm sure you'd point out that having the same color for all of them. Okay, excellent. We actually have icons. Now, these first two don't have icons, so we must have missed one. But the rest have icons. No, there's some missing. So which ones were we missing? Now, I don't like the fact that everything's stuck together here. Now, because these icons are... they seem to have spacing at the top and bottom, let's just add margin to the left and right. Neutral is missing. Okay. Did we have a neutral? They don't have a faction code, probably. Do they? I mean, an icon. Well, there's no faction code for neutral. There's no icon. That's no fun. So, what can we do to make this more interesting? Our font manager, if we use a custom font, do we actually have fallbacks? That is, if I do this, card.faction code equals neutral, we're going to say. Else. Card.faction character, just give it a big O. Faction character, not a heart. Okay, I'm going to add the text back in, make sure it's actually, maybe it's not actually neutral. What is the actual faction code? Card listing. text equals left. Neutral corp it was. Shortly before it crashed I saw that, so so there's probably a neutral corp and a neutral runner then, as I'm gonna guess. Corp. That's just gonna be a guess. We'll find out right away. Runner. A big R. Let's call this big C and a big R. Now I don't like this thing when something went wrong. It seems to get stuck here. The only way to get out of it is to rebuild. It's unfortunate. Alright, let's see where it goes. What I'm wondering with our fonts is we have a fallback system to support things like emoji and stuff that if you don't find it in a font, it's supposed to fall back to defaults. I've just never tested it with the standard or custom fonts. Alright, so we guessed right, neutral runner and neutral corp. So a big C and a big R now. They're obviously not as pretty as these other nice logos, but it's not my fault. Are there any ones missing? Alright, I don't see anything missing. I don't think I have to scroll through all 1,000 of them. Loading is of course broken, that's unfortunate. Well, I'm going to have to fix that offline because that's not actually... Okay, so we have those two. That means the card listing, I can get rid of the faction code. The font's working, so I can get rid of the test line. And something went wrong again, okay. I'll have to go figure that one out as well. This is the same one. Same place, fortunately, so it should be easy enough to find. Let's rebuild it once, so as the final thing we could do, we can just look at the listing and just be happy with that, and then I'll be done with this for today. And I'll fix the one offline, and then we can continue. Maybe we should, I want to get the cards viewing working, and that'll be for next time. Hopefully I have a chance on Wednesday to do that. But I have to get the other things fixed first of all, especially whatever's going, one thing wrong with fetch at least, it's breaking, and then breaking here, and the fetch just not working as well. Okay. Thank you. Good. So this is it. We have the icons there. I should always get that we guided to the model system. We have the icons, and we'll keep working on this next time. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my stream, and you can also subscribe to me on Twitter at edA-qa, and reminds me I have to do a final graphic to make this easier to do. But thank you very much for watching, and we'll continue working on this next time.